ground. I think that's one of their big advantages. Brissett is a pretty good running quarterback. Ran for almost 500 yards. Not to mention that they have, the first name, Shadrick Thompson. Names. Shadrick Thornton. I think that's a pretty decent combo. However, on the other side, you've got UCF, who is, like Memphis, a suffocating defense, only averaging around 18 points a game. And I think at the end of the day, that's what really kills North Carolina State. The defense will clamp down. It will hold Brissett. And I think that UCF pulls this one out. And I have them at a confidence of 7, so both of the North Carolina teams at a lower confidence, 1 wins, 1 loses.
Alrighty, moving on to the Military Bowl presented by Northrop Grumman.
See, everybody has name problems.
Everybody has name problems, even those bowls that are sponsored. I can do words. Sponsored by military contractors. Alright, it is Cincinnati versus Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, the team that beat Ohio State, but they overcome with JT Barrett and Cardell Jones, and the Ohio State Buckeyes will be going to the college football playoff, despite losing to Virginia Tech, who ended up being a fairly mediocre team. On the other side is Cincinnati, the Bearcats of Cincinnati. Noah, why don't you walk us through the Military Bowl?
Look, we got Virginia Tech, who pulled it out a little bit at the end. They got the win over Duke, which was massive, and then lost in probably the worst game of the college football season, 6-3 in double overtime against Wake Forest, which was a heartbreaking defeat. But they got a win against a good Virginia team to save themselves. Virginia, of course, not amazing, 5-7, but Virginia wasn't too bad. They managed to compete with UCLA, but then again, you look back at the season, it seemed like everybody managed to compete with UCLA. But they beat Virginia to save themselves on rivalry week, and they end up going up against Cincinnati. Now, Virginia Tech is not to be overlooked. Their defense, 17th in the country, but you're going up against a very good offense in Cincinnati. And I think Cincinnati's just been a bit more reliable. They're riding a hot streak into this game, won 7 in a row. Last loss came against Miami. They had to play Ohio State the week after Virginia Tech, and they lost, which, could give Virginia Tech a little bit of a bump. But I just don't see it. Cincinnati picks up the win with a confidence of 13 in this one.
All right, I will agree with Noah, and I have Cincinnati at a confidence of slightly higher at 22 or 4 or 6. It's hard to calculate. I apologize for my issues with confidence. All right, moving on to Arizona State versus Duke in the Hyundai Sun Bowl. Now, disclaimer here, I'm very, very, very in favor of Arizona State. How in favor? Well, Arizona State is my, I guess it would be 37 confidence. My third highest confidence over Duke. I see Arizona State as so much better of a team than Duke. I think that Arizona State is a very solid team, and I think that Duke is, they were 9-3 in the ACC. Let's be honest here. So, Arizona State by a landslide in this one for me. Noah, do your opinions differ at all?
You know what? My opinion is that they are even more favored by me. With the highest confidence possible, at 39, I bestow upon it to the Arizona State Sun Devils. Look, Duke ended up in here because they had a 9-3 record, and they had a good defense. Past that, there was little to no reason. They have yet to face an offense the caliber of Arizona State. They take off. They fly. Kelly is a beast. Jalen Strong is one of the best wide receivers in the country. DJ Foster really had a sort of breakout year, running for 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns, and also being the second leading receiver, 646 yards and 3 touchdowns. 29th best passing team, 18th best offense, and I think they did it against better teams, and they proved themselves. Tough loss against Oregon State, but I think this team is an elite team in this college. I think they can hang with most teams that you would put them up against. They hung in every game. besides the UCLA game, they hung in most games. I really like what I see from the Sun Devils, and I think they will blow out Duke.
All right.
Oh, funny, is it Sun Devils versus Blue Devils?
Sun Devils versus Blue Devils in the Sun Bowl.
Oh, they were already favoring Arizona State from the beginning.
Yep, I think it's a biased bowl, honestly. And now we move on to one of the best sponsors of the bowl season, other than Bitcoin, possibly. The Duck Commander Independence Bowl. Duck Commander, the guys from Duck Dynasty are making so much money off that show that they decided to sponsor a bowl. You know, let's be honest here. They're trying to say they're humble, like their country guy. They're buying sponsorships for a bowl. Let's get real here, people. The Duck Commander Independence Bowl facing off will be Miami of Florida, just in case you were wondering, and the South Carolina Gamecocks. All right, in this one, South Carolina is an up-and-down season. They started very highly ranked, and then went like, if you could see my hand motions, I'll just make sound effects for them. I hope you got the idea. Let's just say they exploded into a pile of Steve Spurrier's ashes. All right, I see Miami behind a very solid true freshman quarterback, Brad. Excuse me on the pronunciation. I believe it's Is it Kaye or
Kaya?
Kaya? Is it Kaya?
That's how I say it.
All right, we'll go with Kaya because Noah says it. I take Miami with a very solid confidence of 35.
Well, I don't have them that confident. I'm going to do this as simply as possible. Duke Johnson. Not South Carolina. The U. Confidence of 12.
12 for Noah. Alrighty, moving on to our... I guess this brings us... We only have... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bowls left. I know. Darkening the tissues. I know you're going to start crying soon. It's okay.
I am. I already
We'll be back for part 2. Not you, Noah, the viewing audience. Alright. The New Era Pinstripe Bowl held in Yankee Stadium. Boston College, the team that knocked off USC that turned out not to be that good, and Penn State, who's finally bowl eligible and decided to go play in a bowl as a 6-6 team. Alright, you've got Christian Hackenberg, the quarterback of the future for Penn State, and by future I mean today. And then you got Boston College with their stout defense and even stoutier Brendan Albertson. I will take Penn State with I mean, this is massive confidence, let's be honest here, a confidence of 6.
Carl, I'm happy you have as much faith in the Big Ten as I do. Look, this was supposed to be Penn State's year. I mean, not to win it, but to play well. They were, frankly, a disappointment, starting with a loss against Northwestern and Michigan. And to Illinois. Those are 3 of the worst teams you can lose to. Thank God they didn't lose to Indiana. Indiana and Temple. 2 wins. They got a win against Rutgers, too. But those are Rutgers, Indiana. 2 Big Ten wins. Pretty bad year for them in the Big Ten. Boston College, on the other hand, managed to beat Syracuse, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, and NC State. Look, I think Penn State has a good team, and I think they showed it against Ohio State, and I think at the end of the day, and this is a bit of Big Ten bias, but I like the best defense in the country of Penn State to defeat Boston College. This is going to be low scoring, 2 of the better defenses, but the Penn State Nittany Lions win this game behind the arm of Christian Hackenberg, and I've got them at a whopping confidence of 9.
Oh boy, that's crazy. Alrighty then, moving on to the National University Holiday Bowl. This pits Nebraska versus USC in a bowl that apparently is over the holiday, not like all of these are, December 27th, because apparently that is the National University holiday. You know, if you do take this literally, which I obviously do because I'm me. National University is a higher educational institution in San Diego, California, and it's the 2nd largest private nonprofit institution of higher education in California and the 12th largest in the United States, according to Wikipedia. Me and Noah's favorite sports. Sports source for everything. I said sports instead of source.
You did a lot of alliteration there.
I did, and it wasn't intentional. It was just me screwing up a bunch. So I guess the question has to be, Noah: Huskers or Troy?
Troy or Trojans, whichever one you want to go with.
Men of Troy, men of Troy, boy of Troy. Who knows?
But USC Trojans. You know what? Now I'm trying to think about this. The whole thing of I've been thrown off. Look, I think Nebraska's going to pull off the win. I've got them relatively low. But give Amir Abdullah some love. That guy will run you over. What a beast. I mean, you look at their 3 losses, they're all against good teams. Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan State, all good teams. And only one of them they really got crushed, and that was the game against Wisconsin, where they actually led for most of the first half. They actually led going into halftime, and led for a bit of the third quarter before Wisconsin and Melvin Gordon turned on the Jets. Give the Cornhuskers some love. I know Bo Pelini is going to he's going to coach Youngstown State, joining my boy Jim Dressel, former Ohio State coach. But I like what Nebraska's got there. I think USC is a decent team. I think they have a good passing attack, and they've got a good offense and a pretty average defense. But I like Nebraska. I think Amir Abdullah really exploits the Trojans. I mean, the Trojans last year lucked out. They got an easy game. They managed to get in the face of Derek Carr a lot behind that weak Fresno State O-line. But this year, it's going to be hard to stop Amir Abdullah. I'm going with the Cornhuskers at a confidence of 6.
All right, in direct opposite, you talk about your Big Ten bias. I have a Pac-12 bias. I take USC with the confidence of 3. Cody Kessler's been one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the nation. Next year, I consider him a Heisman dark horse. So we go on to the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. This bowl pits Texas A&M versus West Virginia, Clint Trickett versus Kenny Hill, Gunslinger versus Gunslinger. Noah, who you gunning?
Who am I gunning? I'm gunning with Texas A&M. I mean, let's look at this team. They started off hot. Everybody was, oh my god, Kenny Hill. Oh, Kenny Hill didn't turn out as well. You know, we ended up with Kyle Allen. But Kyle Allen's a good quarterback too. Not to mention, and to be fair, honest, look at that passing offense. 12th best in the nation. They have the 33rd most points for. They're still a pretty solid running team. And their losses, I mean, are you really going to criticize them for losing to Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Bama, LSU, and Missouri? Missouri, of course, ended up in the SEC championship game. Mississippi State and Ole Miss were both terrific this year. Alabama, they are in the playoff. And LSU, not a bad team either. They got a tough break, you know, when you're playing in the SEC West. It's kind of what you got to deal with. On the other side, you got West Virginia, who had, of course, the big win over TCU. Baylor. Lost to TCU in Kansas State. 9th best passing attack. It's a tough matchup here for me. And I hate to do this. I really hate to just go a little bit SEC bias. But I think these teams are very evenly matched. And I'm going to give the edge to the SEC team that I think they're just a little bit more of an explosive team. I think they've had to play against better teams, and I think that's one of the big reasons their record wasn't as good. So, slight edge to Texas A&M. However, I actually have them relatively high. I have them at my 30 confidence.
Wow, that's incredibly high because I have West Virginia in this game. I love the arm of Clint Trickett. I think he's a much more mature quarterback than Kyle Allen is, and I think he'll lead the Mountaineers to victory. All right, moving on to the Russell Athletic Bowl. Oklahoma faces off against Clemson in this matchup on December 29th. You have Oklahoma, who started out this season in the top 4 in most rankings, but has dropped all the way out. You also got Clemson, who was starting in the rankings, but now they're, they started at the top, now they're here. It works both ways. Thank you, Drake. All right, so I don't like either of these teams that much, but I like Oklahoma more, I guess you could say. I have them a fairly low confidence within my bottom 10, but I think that Oklahoma will pull out the victory. Clemson's just been really inconsistent this entire year.
Okie dokie. Look, Clemson, Oklahoma for me. I've got Clemson picking up the win.